All right, man. So a lot of people are coming at Derrick James' throat, right? A lot of people are holding him accountable for the every Spence loss, for how Frank Martin looked on his last outing, and even Anthony Joshua, although he did get the stoppage, he did struggle a little bit. And so people are looking at Derrick James in a different light. The question is, does he deserve that? Or does he deserve better from us boxing fans? Let's talk about it.
Welcome to Tough Glove Boxing. I am locked in, and let's get ready to talk about
So yeah, like I said, the question we're gonna try to answer today, right, is does Derrick James deserve a lot of the criticism that he's getting as a result of the Errol Spence fight, Frank Martin's last outing, recently how AJ has been performing under his tutelage this year, right? He hasn't looked that much greater, right? But he did get the stoppage against Hellenius. And the first thing I want to make clear about this video, right, is that I'm not bashing Derrick James, okay? I'm not bashing Derrick James at all. I think Derrick James, I'm going to separate my opinion of his recent outings from my opinion of him just as a man. I have a lot of respect for Derrick James. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like a lot of times content creators, boxing fans, we can come down pretty hard on the character of an individual. Now, there are some flaws there that we're going to point out. We all have flaws. But I'm going to let you know what my problems are with Derrick James. But I just wanted to be clear that he is a man of respect, right? He's not a terrible role model for your kids to follow as far as hard work and his accomplishments in his life. And I don't really like to demonize people without knowing them personally, because for all of the slack that we can be giving him and we can be talking ish about him, we can call him out of his names, and we don't know what he's doing behind the scenes to help the community. And, maybe he's out there feeding hungry people, helping people out, right? So these are just boxing opinions that we've gathered, as a result of us just watching boxing or watching him on TV. So I want to disconnect anything I'm saying from him as being a man. I respect him as a man. I respect him as a trainer. Whether you believe he should be or not, he will be in the Hall of Fame for trainers. He's accomplished a lot. Whether he had help or not, the fact is he did have a unified champ in the welterweight division, one of the best. Okay, he also has an undisputed champ at 154 pounds. He has a young up and coming fighter, Frank Martin, who is looking good. He looks like he's going to make some noise in the sport of boxing, as he's already done. And now he has Anthony Joshua and Ryan Garcia, who I feel that's more of kind of like a fix him up a type of situation, right? But we can directly contribute a lot of the success Errol Spence had. We can directly contribute a lot of the success that Jamel Charlo had, as well as Frank Martin, to Derrick James and his tutelage and his training. But with that said, there are some things that concern me about Derrick James. Number one, I just want to thank everybody that's watching these videos. Okay, I truly appreciate it. A couple weeks ago, you guys actually got me monetized, and I do want to thank you for that. I'm able to put join buttons on my channel now. I'm able to go live and receive super chats, right? Although I'm not going to do anything that now, because I believe when you do something, you should, like, I'm not just going to do it because I got monetized, right? I'm not going to put a join button up there and have you guys paying something monthly, right? Whatever it is, when I'm just offering you just basic content, right? So I've been really brainstorming with some people around me and trying to come up with something that I can really give you that would warrant you to subscribe and join, and so that you will have some members only perks that you actually find value in. Okay. Right now I'm not getting any exclusive interviews or anything like that, so I don't see any point of me putting the join button up on my channel. And I don't go live a lot because I want to do it the right way. I kind of want to build a little team around me. I have a few content creators that I mess with that I'm going to get in their ear and see if we can do some things together, right? And just bring you guys as much dope content as possible. But I do appreciate you guys getting me monetized. Now, if you do want to go the extra mile and support the channel, I always leave my Cash App, right? in the content description box. And for your Cash App, it don't matter what it is. You know, it could be 50 cent or whatever, right? As opposed to you just giving me money, you're, as you can see up top, in the middle screen, you'll see where it says Tough Glove Boxing, $100. I just put that there. It says thank you for sponsoring the channel today. So your name will go up there, the amount that you sponsored or offered will go up there, and it'll be a thank you there. If you got a business that you want to advertise, you can put your business name or phone number, and it'll still show the amount and just whatever. I'm not looking to break anybody's pocket. I'm just looking for a way to say thank you for your support and encouragement. All right. And so, with that said, other ways you can support the channel, if you don't have any money or you don't want to spend any money, your eyeballs and your time is more valuable to me than anything. All you got to do is hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you want to show some type of monetary support, but you're not in a position, just watch a couple commercials. That's what I always do for some of my favorite content creators. I make sure I look at a couple commercials because they do get paid for it. We get paid for that, right? And that's a good way to contribute. Now, with that said, let's get back to the content. When I think about boxing trainers, right, and I took some notes here. When I think about what is the purpose of a boxing trainer, right? Let's see. Teach the fundamentals of boxing, right? Now, we know that people there in Derrick James' camp are far beyond that point, right? But initially, when you step into the boxing gym, and you're looking for a trainer, that's what you're looking for him to do, to teach you the fundamentals of boxing, the ins and the outs of the ring, right? And then the other task of a boxing trainer is to motivate the fighter, right? Develop game plan for specific opponents. Okay, study your opponent's flaws, fix holes and mistakes in your fighter's technique. Okay, so even if your fighter is winning, right? Well, we'll get to that. Let me just finish going through the list. Fix holes and mistakes in your boxer's technique, right? Be prepared to make adjustments, have different game plans for different situations, understanding your fighter's strengths and weaknesses, right? You have to lose and win with your fighters. We're going to talk about what I mean by that, right? Because accountability is a major force in thinking through solutions, okay? You have to understand your role as a trainer, and you have to do your best to keep your fighter disciplined, because this is not a sprint, this is a marathon when you're in a boxing game, okay? So now, for the most part, Derrick James has fulfilled all of these things. All right. But just, well, not all of them. There's a couple that he has not, right? But for the most part, he's fulfilled most of them. Okay. I feel Derrick James has a one size fits all approach to his corner coaching, as I should say, right? You know, before I made this video, I really wanted to be on my P's and Q's. So I went back and I watched the fights, and I wanted to listen to really what was being said to the fighters in the corner. And I found that there's some consistency with the things that he says to his fighters in the corner. Now, there is some homework associated with today's video. If you want to get a clear understanding of what I'm talking about, I want you to go and I want you to look at Jamel Charlo versus Brian Castano 1. Okay? Frank Martin versus Autumn. Okay, I want you to go back and look at that fight, and we already know what the Errol Spence fight looked like and what was said in that corner. Now, a large problem that I had with the Spence fight is the only advice that he offered to Errol Spence was to use your jab, to step around Terence Crawford or step to the side, and I just thought that was insufficient. And so let's go ahead and hear it from somebody else's perspective, mainly Terence Crawford, okay?
Derrick James
disrespected your trainer Bomac.
The other thing I want to say, right, is 3 knockout rule. That interview that they did with Terence Crawford and Victor Conte, please go and watch 3 knockdown rules interview. I'm just using this for fair use and just to break it down a little bit to get into the content that I'm about to get into. But it was a fantastic interview. It was about over an hour long, so we're just going to touch a little bit. We ain't going to do none of the Victor Conte stuff today, but it clarified a lot of things, and a lot of things will surprise you. And in fact, my next video is going to be based on some of the things that Victor Conte brought up. So y'all guys go back and look at that video. You know, some content creators might beat me to the punch, but you know, that's cool, right? Because we all brotherhood, you know, we all brothers in this YouTube thing, whether we like each other or not, right? But let's get back into
Sure,
what happened though, right?
Pardon me?
Pardon me?
You see what
He asked him about Derrick James. Let me run that back because I was running my big mouth.
Friends, Derrick James,
disrespecting your trainer Bo Mac. I'm sure you're.
you see what happened though,
Pardon
right?
me?
You see what happened though, right? You see what
That's
happened though,
exactly
right?
it.
That's exactly it.
Derrick James, he did a lot of disrespecting my coach. The media was disrespecting
That
my
he
coach.
did.
The fans, they was disrespecting my coach. But
And I think that
he
was
showed
more Derrick
high
James
level
listening to the
the night of
fans.
the fight, and I don't think Derrick James was on his level when it's all done. When you compare the two, I believe that they didn't have a backup plan. I believe him telling his fighter to step around, and that's all he was telling them. That was bad coaching.
Now, I made two videos that y'all have already seen and loved. Thank you very much. That said the exact same thing. Right? It said the exact same thing. You guys that watch my channel regularly, you know that I specifically said that same thing. That was terrible advice from Derrick James to give to Errol Spence to fight Terrence Crawford.
For
Let's go.
that night. Not to say that Derrick James is a bad coach at all, because I wouldn't disrespect him by saying that, because he's a great coach. He's done great things in the sport of boxing, but that night he got out coached.
Now, shout out to Terrence Crawford for always being the utmost gentleman about the situation, even though Derrick James, did give a lot of disrespect to his team and him for that matter, because I feel like it was just disrespectful to think that Spence was going to go in there and walk down Terrence Crawford. It showed that you really didn't have a respect for your opponent. You really didn't properly have a respect for who you had in front of you. And part of that can be because you really don't watch film, right? But I have some issues with Derrick James. Some of you are sharing with me. Now, like I said, this channel is not about agreeing with me. So if you disagree, that's okay, right? We're not enemies. If we disagree, we have to learn how to disagree with each other and keep it moving. But these are just my issues with Derrick James, okay? Now, I'm going to let you hear some things, right? Now, I wanted to show you some clips, right? I can't show you any clips from the Frank Martin Autumn fight because Showtime, they flag everything that if you use even 5 seconds of their content, they're gonna flag it. So I didn't do that. However, I did get the audio and we're gonna break it down, right? So first of all, we heard what Terrence Crawford had to say, right? Now let me explain to you another issue I have with Derrick James' character, right? As a trainer, right? You have to understand that your fighter is an extension of you, right? Your fighter is an extension of you. Matter of fact, you're a whole team. See, when you look at, and I'm using this as an example, okay? When you look at Terrence Crawford team, right? Or even somebody like Tank Davis, Devin Haney, right? There's numerous examples, right? Shakur Stevenson. When you look at the team around him, I'm talking about the trainer. I'm talking about the strength and conditioning team. I'm talking about the cut man even. I'm talking about just everything involved with getting that fighter prepared for what he needs to do, right? When that fighter wins, everybody wins. The whole team wins. And when that fighter loses, the whole team is supposed to lose with him. Because really, when you think about it like that, that's the best way to solve and think your way through to a solution in order to fix whatever holes that you have to fix so that your fighter can actually advance, right, and evolve into a better version and the best version of himself that he is supposed to evolve into. And Derrick James wins with his fighters, but he doesn't accept the loss with his fighters. He allows the fighters to take whatever fight they struggled in. He allows the fighter to accept that whole blame. If the fighter loses, which he doesn't have a lot of experience in losing fighters. Let me explain that. Matter of fact, he only lost one time, from what I can understand, okay? Out of all of the fighters that he's trained so far that's been under his tutelage. So, not taking nothing from him. But he let Errol Spence really take that loss by himself. I was speaking to my uncle about the fight, and he said when he looked at the post press conference right after the Spence fight, Spence, the way they had it was like he was just in a world all by himself, right? You didn't get many comments from Derrick James or anything like that, right? And I'm gonna show you Derrick James' nature in that sense, right? So you have the Anthony Joshua, right? Check this out. The Anthony Joshua fight. Let's look at this. This is now, mind you, Anthony Joshua got the victory. He got a stoppage, but he struggled doing it. Eddie Hearn is telling him, sorry, I have to lean over here, guys, to see what I'm doing. Eddie Hearn is telling Derrick James, yeah, come over here and speak because they want to, they want to hear from the coach too. Which whenever he has a dominant fight, he has no problems talking at the post conference. But this is what he said this time. Let's check it out.
End of this fight, big right hand. Obviously, that's what.
Let's start that over. See, Eddie Hearn was trying to tell him, they're going to want to hear from you too. And Derrick James said, they don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from Anthony Joshua. Okay, so here it is.
End of this fight, big right hand. Obviously, that's what.
I was just following coach's game plan, the best of my capability. Obviously, when did we draft Helenius? Monday, so yeah.
Now that's also important to note. They had a last-minute replacement, literally about maybe a week or a week and a half before the fight. They had to switch opponents, so the original game plan did not apply. Okay, they didn't really have a lot of time to work for Helenius. Okay, so he had to pretty much go by what Derrick James was telling him. This is when a coach is supposed to shine.
Okay, switch of opponent, switch of game plan, and I just followed it as best as I could and got the victory in the 7th round.
Did that game plan take longer to unfold than you hoped?
See, they're asking him, as you can hear, did it take longer than you had hoped, right? And the reason why they're asking him that is because he didn't look so good. Up until he got the stoppage, he looked like he was struggling, right?
Not really. One step at a time. Remember,
and the important part is coming boxing. Up, guys.
Everything I do, my opponent's trying to shut down every advance I try and make and vice versa. So it's up to my coach. I don't really rate my performances.
He said, are you happy with your performance? And AJ, you heard what he said. I don't rate my performance. I leave it up to my coach.
Whatever coach thinks. But we can go back to the drawing board. And I know there's a lot of things we can improve on. And I felt better than I did in April. That's the main thing. But I'm not going to rate my opponents. I leave it to the coach and the team.
So now the next skit that we're going to go to, right, because I was skipping along, we're going to go to Derrick James. And they asked Derrick James, what do you rate his performance? Now, this is what pisses me off about Derrick James. Listen to his response when they asked him, what do you rank Anthony Joshua's performance?
You know what? What's funny is that I couldn't even really, because of the pole in front, so I could barely see it. I have to go back and watch it. Then I can tell you. Because I think he did well. I think his defense was well. His movement was well. And definitely, his intent. Because I think that for the longest, I think that a lot of people were not able to see his intent to try.
Now, I'm going to stop it right there. He said he couldn't really see the fight. This is Anthony Joshua's corner. This is who he's dependent on to help him win this fight. And Derrick James literally sat there at this post-press conference and said, I didn't really see the fight. I have to go back and watch it. Does that sound normal to anybody else? Can anybody, right, who thinks that I'm coming down too hard on Derrick James, can anybody justify that? He has to go. He thinks his defense was good, right? Then he goes into talking about something that you can't really measure, which is intent. He did the same thing when they was questioning him about the Crawford fight, talking about, well, you can't measure a man's will. What do you mean you think the intent was there? What does that even mean? If you're somebody who's defending this right now, I want you to get in the comment section and I want you to tell me, what did he mean by the intent? He didn't really watch the fight because there was a pole in front of him, so he couldn't really see his fighter, whose life is on the line. Now, Anthony Joshua got a stoppage, right? There were a bunch of ways he could have answered that question, but he didn't look good getting that stoppage. So instead of saying, well, there's some things that I saw he can improve on and we're going to go back and we're going to work on it, but I'm glad that he got the stoppage. It was a last minute replacement, so we kind of had to make come up with a game plan real quick. So I put together something that I thought would work. It eventually did work, right? And I knew it would work, but it just took us a little longer to get there. Instead of saying that, he says he could barely see the fight. Well, I got to go back and watch it and see. I think his defense is good. I think this was good. And I think that what people wanted to see was intent. Let's continue.
Be devastated and knock somebody out. But on several occasions, I kind of saw a little bit of the replay, and it was showing me he was very...
Now, mind you, he's coaching Anthony Joshua through a live fight that he's in right now. And he's talking about he's analyzing the fight from a replay. What was he doing? Was he talking to Big Booty Judy while Anthony Joshua was fighting? What was he looking at? There's a pole in front of you. You can't go like that. Hey, there's a pole in front of me. I mean, be honest. Is it me? Is it? Okay. Okay, here we go. Let's go.
Adamant on trying to land the right hand.
How are you doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I couldn't really see. I mean, the pole is very difficult, right? And so, and I can see him being very adamant at trying to land the right hand. And so what happened was afterwards that in between the 6th round, I said, step over, keep shooting right in.
You hear that? Step over and keep shooting to the right hand. All right?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to find with the right hand. So
he said Anthony Joshua said it's kind of difficult to find him with the right hand. Let's go.
You can land the second round, okay?
No, hold on. I jumped forward a little bit. Sorry, guys.
Improve, and I felt that's the main thing.
It's funny that I couldn't even really, I could barely see it. Then I can tell you. Because I think he did well. I think his defense was well. His movement was well. And definitely, his intent. Because I think that were not able to see his intent to try to go, be devastated.
Sorry, I had to rewind it a little bit.
On several occasions, I kind of saw a little bit of the replay. And it was showing me he was very adamant on trying to land the right hand.
What does that mean?
Well, yeah, I couldn't really see. I couldn't.
They asked him.
It was very difficult.
She said, "What do you mean you was looking at the replay?" He was like, "Oh, look at his face."
So, and I can see him being very adamant at trying to land right in. And so what happened was afterwards that in between the 6th round, I said, step over and keep shooting right in. He said, it's kind of difficult to find him with the right hand. So listen, keep shooting, keep throwing it. And you'll find it. And he kept doing it, and he found it. So
he told me that around 6.
Right, he told me around 6.
7.
So we hit him in the chest with his jab, he stepped to him, it landed. So it was like, it was good.
That's when you speak.
Now, had he not landed that punch, right? Derrick James would have accepted no accountability. Was what he said crazy? Or is it just me? Now let's take a look at what he told Errol Spence Jr. in the corner, right? I'm going to actually play it and then push it down a little bit because I don't want Showtime to copyright strike this. But check it out what he says. Now remember what Anthony Joshua, he told him to step around, right? And shoot the right hand. Let's go. I heard that. He said, now that first part was after the first knockdown. He's talking about the same thing he told Anthony Joshua. You off balance. That's what he told Errol Spence. He's saying you got to jab him to the chest. Stay behind your jab, right? Now, this is after another hard round for Errol Spence. Listen to what he said.
Right in front of him, all right? Standing right in front of him. Here's the angle. You're standing right in front of him, all right? Step around him. If you're looking at him, that's why he's hitting you. You're waiting on him, okay? Here's the angle. You're standing right in front of him. When you do the face, you gotta step around him, okay?
Step around him. What is it with this step around him thing, right? Step around him. Create the angles, right? We all know Errol Spence Jr. doesn't fight off of angles, okay? So he didn't study Terrence Crawford to know how to get to Terrence Crawford's weak side, right? So how did you develop a game plan for somebody who you did not study? And you telling your fighter to do things that's outside the characteristics of the way he fight, right? Let's go. Terrence Crawford thinks you're standing right in front of him. That's why he's hitting you. No, he was standing right in front of him because Errol Spence's main technique is to come forward with heavy pressure, right? And high value. I told you, Errol Spence's only adjustment is to fight harder. When Anthony Joshua was having problems, he told him it's hard to get to him with the right hand. So he said, just keep doing it. There was no just keep doing it. Right? Now, eventually, Hellenius gassed out. We all know he was going to do that, right? And AJ got it. Shout out to AJ, right? But was that good coaching to you guys? How are you coaching your fighter and giving him any corner advice while at the same time admitting you can't see the fight?
Looking at him, that's why he's hitting you. You're waiting on the entry. Keep your shots and step around him. Turn him. He thinks you're standing right in front of him. Keep stepping around him. Keep the wild shot on him. When he gets tight, keep the wild shot on him. Keep the walk. Towards the end of the round. That's when he slows down.
Now let me show you real coaching. Bomac said towards the end of the round, right? Towards the end of the round, he slows down. Keep that jab in his face. Switch speeds up on him. Which is why Errol Spence was having problems with the timing. Because if somebody is switching speed with their punches, it's hard to get their timing down because you don't know how fast or how slow the average punch is going to come, right? It's hard for you to get a hold on and to gauge their speed. Whereas Errol Spence, like I said, he stays monotone and fights at the same pace unless he has to pick it up and then he'll just fight harder. Let's go.
Take him down. Okay? I'm going to be curious because he don't punch me.
Now that's good coaching. That's good coaching. Specific details of what to do and how to do it. Look.
You see him check, you see him check. And you really hit him with a jab over there. I think he did, but it's in his toes.
Terrence Crawford asked, Errol Spence asked Derrick James, did he get that round? Excuse me, guys. And he said, I think he did, but it was kind of close. Outside of the first round, maybe the third, did anybody see a close round in that fight? Okay, let's go.
Feel you.
Make him feel you. This is the corner advice.
Make him feel you. And shoot your shot tight in the middle. Use your legs to step around him, okay?
Shoot your shot tight in the middle. Use your legs to step around him. You explain to me what that actually looks like, because what I'm seeing in my head when he say that, it don't make sense. And it's making me feel like Errol Spence feels like he's on his own. There's actually a clip that I wanted to show But you know, Showtime won't let you even screen record the fight, even if you subscribe to their channel, right? So I was trying to show you Derrick James coaching him in the corner, basically saying the same thing. Here we go. Let's see. Let me see if I have anything else on this. I don't. So we're gonna get rid of that. Let's go to this video here. Now you're not gonna see anything.
Choose for a nice
He said, "What the F are you doing?" Derrick James told Frank Martin after a tough round, "What the F are you doing? Walk him down." Now, Frank, you couldn't see it. That's why I say go back and watch that fight. For the Frank Martin Autumn fight, watch round 8 and up, because the coaching was horrendous from that point on. Now, as he's talking to Frank Martin is frustrated. He's like, "I need some water. Just give me some water." And he says, "I know you need water, Frank." Right? Frank is frustrated because he knows he's in there really by himself. Walk him down, keep chopping, chopping, chopping. Where have we heard that before? Chop, chop, chop. Right? One size fits all for every fighter, for every opponent. He said, "Then what do you keep backing up for? If I'm catching a shot, why am I backing up instead of going forward?" Right? Now, the reason why I bring that up is because that soon as the bell rung, Frank Martin, I'm not even lying, go see for yourself. He did exactly what Derrick James said. He did not take a step back at all that whole round. And he lost that round more convincingly than he lost any round in that fight. No lie. I think it was like the 8th or 9th round. Go look back when Derrick James tells him, "Don't back up. Don't back up." He went out there and specifically did exactly what Derrick James said and lost that round more convincingly than any other round that he had lost that entire fight. And I want you to hear what Derrick James says to him when he gets back to the corner. Walking down on the he said, "You out there playing around, walk him down with the jab." That's what he said. First it was, "If I'm catching the punches, why am I backing up instead of coming forward?" Then he says, "Walk him down with the jab." Now, mind you, Frank Martin is the smaller fighter, right, in this ring, right? Walk him down, right? He literally just did that. And then he goes, "All those other punches, man, that don't mean nothing." Man down promotions, and what he's seen thus far as is Derrick James in the corner. Say, "I need you to stop him. I need you to stop him. I think you're behind." And while some trainers do say things like that to make their fighter pick it up, right? He offered no strategy. Now, mind you, a lot of people tried to criticize Frank Martin for this performance. I thought it was one of his best performances. It showed his true character, his true dog, and he really quickly became one of my favorite fighters in that stable, right? Because to me, if you ask me, he's really the most talented one out of the whole stable. With just his natural gifts and abilities, right? I think he's going to be a big problem for anybody at 135. But Autumn was no walk in the park. This man was a bronze medalist. He had a better amateur career than Frank Martin. He was also undefeated, just like Frank Martin. And by the way, Frank Martin has had the same amount of undefeated fighters as Errol Spence Jr. I'm not even lying. Okay, so the consistency that I see in the Derrick James training method is walk him down behind the jab, step around him, right? Or step to the side and chop, chop, chop. How is that enough? Right? How is that enough for those particular situations that that his fighters are in? And so I ask you, right? If you look at the Jamel Charlo Castano 1 fight, if you look at that fight, that was one of Jamel Charlo's hardest fights, right? And at the end of that fight, everybody kept saying Jamel Charlo wasn't listening to Derrick James. It's not that Jamel Charlo wasn't listening to Derrick James. Just like Frank Martin, just like Errol Spence, just like Anthony Joshua, right? Sometimes what the trainer is telling the fighter to do is not working in the ring. Okay? It's not that Jamel Charlo wasn't listening, because from what I understand, Derrick James did not train Jamel Charlo for Castaño 2, right? He didn't train him the whole time. I'm not the whole time, I don't know. But I heard that it was somebody else that also helped train. And that's a good thing, because you saw the difference in Jamel Charlo, right, in the second Castaño fight. He had some things added on to him. If you want to look at the Tony Harrison fight, the first one that he lost, right? And then he trained with Derrick James for the rematch. He looked exactly the same. Jamel Charlo's power bailed him out of that fight. He knocked Tony Harrison down in the second round in the Tony Harrison 2 fight. And after that, Tony Harrison stepped to Jamel. And Jamel Charlo is one of my favorite fighters, but Tony Harrison stepped to him, and he was beating him. He was beating the crap out of Jamel. I'm not even lying. Go look at Tony Harrison, Jamel Charlo 2 after that knockdown. Tony Harrison started playing around, and he started slipping, and we all know his chin is questionable, right? Not even his chin, his head, because when he seems to get hit in a certain spot of his head, the fight is over. And then it was uppercut city from there, right? But the fact is, Jamel Charlo's power had to bail him out of that situation. He didn't look any different than he did in the first fight. But when you look at the Castano first fight, Jamel Charlo looks totally different. And come to find out, Derrick James didn't even fully train Jamel Charlo. He had another trainer helping him out. And that leads to my point. I get it. Derrick James is the trainer of the year. But build you a team of trainers. He picked that Bomac for having 2 other additional trainers. There's nothing wrong with having multiple eyes on the situation. Multiple eyes, multiple inputs, multiple solutions to come down to the best one. So I just wanted to make this video right quick. Do I think Derrick James deserves all of the scrutiny that he's getting? I do. I do believe that, right? I believe he deserves it because you're supposed to win and lose with your team. And he only seems to win with his team, right? So now I'm questioning, I'm asking, who's training Jamel Charlo? Because we just had the Errol Spence fight. We just had the Anthony Joshua fight, right? And with that said, Jamel Charlo has been in camp this whole time. So is it safe to say that Derrick James is not the sole trainer for Jamel Charlo? Get in the comment section. Hit that like button for your boy. Again, I really appreciate you guys getting me monetized. If you want to show support and go the extra mile, hit the Cash App. I already showed you that if you do that, right, you'll get your name up here with the amount. You can advertise your little business or your big business or whatever it is that you want to do, right? It'll be up there. And if the super chat, if the Cash App is big enough, I'll make a box so your name and your business number and everything can stay up there the whole episode. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. I thank you for taking the time to check out the content. Locked in, Tough Love Boxing. I'm out.
You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get the hell up out of here.